Welcome back to Research TV. Research has no limit. In this video, I'm going to show you surprising facts about planet Mars. Make sure you watch till the end. Now let's dive in. Mars is the fourth planet on the solar system. It is the second smallest planet on the solar system. Interestingly, Mars is about half the size of Earth. Its surface has nearly the same area as Earth's dry land. As Mars orbits the Sun, it completes one rotation every 24.6 hours, which is very similar to one day on Earth, 23.9 hours. A year on Mars is 687 Earth days long, almost twice as long as Earth years. This is because it takes a lot of time than Earth to complete its orbit around the Sun. When the solar system settled into its current layout about 4.5 billion years ago, Mars was formed, when gravity pulled agitate gas and dust, to become the fourth planet from the Sun. Mars has a thin atmosphere made up mostly of carbon dioxide, nitrogen, and argon gases. The temperature on Mars can be as high as 70 degrees Fahrenheit and as low as about -225 degrees Fahrenheit. Occasionally, winds on Mars are strong enough to create dust storms that cover much of the planet. After such storms, it can be months before all of the dust settles. Mars is known as the red planet because it appears faintly reddish or orange when viewed in the night sky. This is because Mars is covered in soil, rock, and dust made from iron oxide, which gives the surface a red rusty color. Mars was named by the ancient Romans for their god of war because its reddish color, which was similar to that of blood. The Egyptians called it Perdeshur, meaning the red one. Mars has two small moons, Phobos and Deimos. Phobos, which means fear, and Deimos, which means panic, were named after the horses that pulled the chariot of the Greek war god, Ares. Both Phobos and Deimos were discovered in 1877 by American astronomer Asaph Hall. Phobos, the innermost and larger moon, is heavily cratered, with deep grooves on its surface. It is slowly moving towards Mars and will crash into the planet or break apart in about 50 million years. Deimos is about half as big as Phobos and orbits 2.5 times farther away from Mars. Also, Mars is 204.4 million kilometers from the Sun. Earth and Mars are the only two planets in the solar system with polar ice caps. They are made up of solid carbon dioxide or dry ice. A day on Mars is 24 hours and 37 minutes, slightly longer than an Earth day. Mars's gravity is only 38% that of Earth. Moreover, one could jump much higher on Mars because gravity is weaker there. One would weigh less in Mars because gravity is weaker there. For example, if you weigh 100 pounds on Earth, you would only weigh 38 pounds on Mars. Mars has seasons just like Earth, but they last longer. This is because it takes longer for it to orbit the Sun. The seasons vary in length since Mars has an egg-shaped orbit around the Sun. This season are summer, spring, winter and autumn. The longest season on Mars is spring, which lasts for 194 days. The shortest season on Mars is autumn, lasting only 142 days. Summer lasts for 178 days and winter 154 days. There is very little oxygen on Mars. You would need a spacesuit with oxygen to go outdoors. The first spacecraft to land on Mars were the Viking landers, which touched down on the surface in 1976. The first National Aeronautics and Space Administration rover to land on Mars was called Sojourner. It landed in 1997. Two more NASA rovers, Spirit and Opportunity, landed in 2004. The atmosphere on Mars is too thin for liquid water to remain on the surface. In 2018, the National Aeronautics and Space Administration Curiosity found evidence of liquid water. A lake under the planet's polar caps, not liquid water like we see here on Earth, but water ice under the surface and at the bottom of craters. This would be a possible sign that there was once life on Mars. The first person to observe Mars with the use of a telescope was Galileo Galilei. He observed the red planet in 1610. And lastly, if you stood on Mars and looked at the Sun, it would appear about half the size as we see it on Earth.